Nathan Cole sat in his leather chair, staring at the 3 credit card statements spread across his mahogany desk. His hands trembled as he read through each purchase, line by line. The numbers told a story that shattered everything he thought he knew about the people in his life. Patricia Henderson, his girlfriend of 8 months, had spent $27,000 in 3 days. Designer handbags, diamond earrings, a weekend at the most expensive spa in the city. Each purchase screamed of greed and shallow desires. Rebecca Martinez, his business associate and friend for 2 years, had spent $15,000 on networking dinners, expensive wines for potential clients, and a new laptop she claimed was for business purposes. Strategic, calculated, selfish. Then there was Simone Washington. The woman who cleaned his mansion every day with a smile, who always asked about his day, who brought him homemade soup when he was sick last month. The beautiful African-American woman who wore simple clothes but had the kindest eyes he had ever seen. Her statement made him stop breathing for a moment. The first purchase, $800 at City General Hospital. Patient Billing Department. The second, $300 at Jefferson Elementary School. The third, $200 at Miller's Grocery Store, followed immediately by deliveries to 4 different addresses in the low-income housing district. Purchase after purchase, not a single item for herself. Not one dress, not one pair of shoes, not even a coffee at her favorite cafe down the street. Every penny had gone to other people. Every single purchase was an act of love for someone else. Nathan's chest tightened as he continued reading. Physical therapy payments for someone named Ruth Washington. Books and school supplies for someone called Tommy Washington. Groceries for Mrs. Chin next door, medicine for old Joe from apartment 4B, winter coats for the Thompson children. The last purchase on the statement was the one that broke him completely. $50 at the flower shop on Main Street. The delivery address was Riverside Cemetery. The message on the receipt read, "For Daddy. I miss you every day. Thank you for teaching me to always help others first." Nathan buried his face in his hands. 3 days ago he had given 3 women unlimited access to his wealth. He told each of them it was a gift, a way to say thank you for being in his life. He wanted to see who they really were when money was no object. He had expected greed. He had expected selfishness. He had expected people to show their true colors when given unlimited power to spend. But Simone had shown him something else entirely. She had shown him what a pure heart looked like. She had taken his gift and turned it into a blessing for everyone around her. She had taken his test and turned it into an act of service. How many nights had she worked late, cleaning his mansion until everything sparkled, then gone home to care for her sick mother and help her younger brother with homework? How many times had she brought him fresh flowers from her own small garden, never asking for anything in return? How blind had he been to the treasure that walked through his house every day, making his cold mansion feel like a home simply by being there? Nathan stood up and walked to his window, looking out at the city below. Somewhere out there, Simone was probably still giving, still helping, still putting everyone else before herself just like she always did. The test was over. The results were clear. And now Nathan Cole, the billionaire who had everything money could buy, realized he had been living his life completely wrong. He picked up his phone with shaking fingers. It was time to make things right. But first, he needed to understand how he had gotten to this point. How had he become so cynical about people that he felt the need to test them? How had he missed what was right in front of him all along? The story began 6 months ago, when Nathan first started questioning everyone around him. Could love like Simone's really exist in a world full of people who only wanted his money? Have you ever wondered what you would do if someone gave you unlimited spending power? Subscribe and comment below. Tell us what your first purchase would reveal about your character. 6 months earlier, Nathan Cole had everything a man could want. At 35, he was the CEO of Cole Tech, a company he built from nothing in his garage 10 years ago. His artificial intelligence software was used by major corporations worldwide, making him one of the youngest billionaires in the country. His mansion sat on 50 acres outside the city, with 12 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, a private gym, an indoor pool, and a garage full of luxury cars he rarely drove. He employed a full staff, a chef, a gardener, 2 security guards, and Simone, his housekeeper. But Nathan was lonely. Every relationship felt fake. Every friendship seemed to come with a price tag. People smiled at his money, not at him. The realization hit him hardest 6 months ago at his birthday party. Patricia had thrown him a celebration at the most expensive restaurant in the city, inviting 50 people he barely knew. They ate food that cost more than most people made in a week, drank wine older than some of the guests, and gave speeches about what a great guy he was. But when the party ended, Nathan went home alone to his empty mansion. Patricia had to leave early for a previous commitment. The guests disappeared the moment the free champagne stopped flowing. He sat in his living room, surrounded by expensive gifts he didn't need, feeling more isolated than ever. That night as he sat in the dark, Simone knocked on his door. She had forgotten her reading glasses and needed to retrieve them from the kitchen. She found him there, still in his birthday suit, looking lost. "Mr. Cole, are you all right?" she asked, her voice full of genuine concern. "Just thinking," he replied. Instead of leaving, Simone sat down across from him. She wore a bright blue sweater and faded jeans, her natural hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She was beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with makeup or expensive clothes. "My daddy used to say that the best birthdays aren't about what you get, but about who shows up because they love you, not because they want something from you," she said softly. Her words hit him like a physical blow. When was the last time someone had shown up for him without wanting anything? When was the last time someone had looked at him and seen Nathan the person, not Nathan the bank account? "How do you know if people really care about you?" he asked. Simone smiled. "You watch what they do when they think nobody's watching. You see how they treat people who can't do anything for them. You notice if they remember the little things that matter to you." After she left that night, Nathan couldn't stop thinking about her words. He started paying attention to the people in his life. Really paying attention. Patricia called him every day, but the conversations were always about places she wanted to go, things she wanted to buy, events she wanted to attend. When he mentioned feeling tired or stressed, she changed the subject. When he talked about his work, she checked her phone. Rebecca visited his office weekly, always with new business proposals that would benefit her more than him. She laughed at his jokes even when they weren't funny and agreed with every opinion he expressed, no matter how different it was from what she had said the week before. But Simone was different. She asked about his day and listened to his answer. She noticed when he wasn't eating well and brought him healthy meals from home. She remembered that he liked his coffee strong in the morning and weak in the afternoon. She never asked for anything. When he got food poisoning from a business lunch, Patricia sent flowers with a card that said, "Feel better soon, babe." Rebecca sent a fruit basket with her business card attached. Simone showed up at his door with homemade chicken soup, stayed to make sure he ate it, and quietly cleaned his kitchen before leaving. "You don't have to do that," he had told her. "You're not working today." "I know," she replied. "I want to." That simple statement changed everything for Nathan. Someone wanted to take care of him. Not because she was paid to, but because she cared. From that day forward, Nathan found himself looking forward to the days Simone worked. She arrived every morning at 8, wearing bright colors that made his gray mansion feel warmer. She hummed while she worked, and her presence made even the biggest rooms feel cozy. But Nathan was afraid to trust his feelings. What if he was wrong about her? What if she was just better at hiding her true motives? What if she was the most skilled gold digger of them all? That fear led to his decision to create the test. He would give 3 women in his life unlimited spending power and see what they did with it. The results would show him who they really were. He chose Patricia because she was his girlfriend. He chose Rebecca because she was his business partner. And he chose Simone because she was the one his heart wanted to trust most, but his mind feared to believe. Nathan planned everything carefully. He would announce a business trip, give each woman a credit card, and watch what happened. The truth would come out in their choices. But as he prepared for the test, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that he was about to discover something that would change his life forever. He just didn't know if it would break his heart or heal it. Every morning at 6:30, Simone Washington's alarm clock buzzed in her small apartment in Riverside Heights. She never hit snooze. There was no time. She would slip quietly out of bed, careful not to wake her mother, Ruth, who slept in the next room. Ruth Washington had been battling diabetes and heart problems for 3 years now, and sleep was precious for her. Simone would tiptoe to the tiny kitchen and start coffee, then prepare her mother's morning medication. 7 pills with breakfast, 3 more at lunch, 4 at dinner. The pill organizer sat next to a stack of unpaid medical bills that grew bigger every month. After starting her mother's breakfast, Simone would wake her 16-year-old brother Tommy, who slept on the pull-out couch in the living room. Tommy was a junior at Jefferson High School, smart as a whip, with dreams of becoming an engineer. But dreams required money for college, and money was something the Washington family didn't have much of. "Morning, sunshine," Simone would say, ruffling Tommy's hair. He would groan and complain, but she would catch him smiling. Since their father died 5 years ago, Simone had become both sister and mother to Tommy, and he knew how hard she worked for their small family. Simone would dress for work in clothes she had owned for years, but she always made sure they were clean and pressed. She took pride in her appearance, even if she couldn't afford new things. Today she chose a bright green blouse that brought out her warm brown eyes and black slacks that she had mended so many times she knew every thread. She would catch the 7:15 bus to Nathan's mansion, a 40-minute ride that took her from her neighborhood of small apartments and corner stores to the world of gated communities and rolling lawns. The contrast never failed to amaze her. But Simone didn't feel bitter about the difference. Her father had taught her that wealth wasn't about money in the bank, it was about richness of spirit. Some people have money but empty hearts, he used to say. You choose to have a full heart every day, baby girl. When Simone arrived at Nathan's mansion, she would enter through the service door and hang her purse in the small closet by the kitchen. She had been working for Nathan for 2 years now and she loved her job. Not just because it paid better than any cleaning job she had ever had, but because Nathan treated her with respect. Unlike some of the wealthy families she had worked for before, Nathan always said good morning when he saw her. He asked about her family and remembered the details. When Tommy had won the science fair last year, Nathan had congratulated her as if Tommy was his own brother. When her mother was in the hospital, Nathan had given her paid time off without her even asking. Simone's workday started in the kitchen, where she would prepare fresh coffee for Nathan and arrange the morning newspaper on the breakfast table. She noticed that he liked his coffee cup turned so the handle faced left, and she made sure to do it every day. Then she would begin cleaning the mansion room by room. Dusting, vacuuming, organizing. The house was huge, but Simone took care of it like it was her own home. She noticed when Nathan seemed stressed and would leave small touches to cheer him up. Fresh flowers from the garden, his favorite cookies arranged on a plate, a note reminding him to eat lunch. Nathan never asked her to do these extra things. She did them because she cared about him as a person. He was lonely, she could see that. All that money, all that success, and he still seemed lost sometimes. In the afternoons, when her work at Nathan's was done, Simone would rush home to check on her mother and help Tommy with homework. Then she would work her evening job, cleaning offices downtown until late at night. 3 jobs total, 7 days a week, because the medical bills never stopped coming and Tommy's school expenses kept growing. But Simone never complained. Her family was everything to her and she would do anything to take care of them. The hardest part wasn't the work or the long hours. The hardest part was watching other people waste money on things they didn't need while she struggled to pay for things her family couldn't live without. She had watched Nathan's girlfriend Patricia throw away food that cost more than Simone's grocery budget for a week. She had seen Rebecca expense business lunches that could have paid Tommy's school fees for a month. But Simone never said anything. It wasn't her place to judge. Instead, she focused on the blessings she did have. A job that paid fairly. A boss who treated her well. A mother who was still fighting every day. A brother who made her proud with his grades and his kind heart. Every Sunday, Simone would visit her father's grave at Riverside Cemetery. She would bring flowers when she could afford them and she would tell him about her week. She would ask for strength to keep going and wisdom to make the right choices. "I'm trying to live like you taught me, Daddy," she would whisper. "Helping others, working hard, keeping my heart open even when things are tough." Simone never imagined that her way of living would soon be put to the ultimate test. She never dreamed that someone would give her the power to change her life and the lives of everyone she loved. And she certainly never thought that her choices would change someone else's life in return. But that test was coming, and Simone Washington was about to show the world what real character looked like. The morning Nathan announced his plan, Simone was arranging fresh daisies in a vase on his kitchen table. She hummed softly as she worked, wearing a bright red sweater that made her smile seem even warmer. "Simone, could I speak with you for a moment?" Nathan asked as he entered the kitchen. "Of course, Mr. Cole." She turned to face him, her hands still damp from the flower water. Nathan looked nervous, which was unusual for him. He was always so confident, so sure of himself. But today he kept shifting from foot to foot like he had something difficult to say. "I'm going away on a business trip for a few days," he began. "And I wanted to do something special for the people who make my life better." Simone smiled. "That sounds lovely, Mr. Cole." Nathan reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small envelope. "This is for you. A thank you gift for everything you do." Simone opened the envelope carefully. Inside was a credit card with her name on it and a handwritten note that said, "Buy whatever makes you happy. No limit. You deserve the world. Thank you for everything, Nathan." Simone stared at the card, then at the note, then back at the card. Her hands began to shake. "Mr. Cole, I can't accept this," she whispered. "Please," Nathan said. "I want you to have it. Think of it as a bonus for 2 years of making my house feel like a home." Tears filled Simone's eyes. "But sir, this is too much." I just do my job. No, Nathan said firmly. You do so much more than your job. You care. That's rare in my world, Simone. Please take it. Use it. Buy whatever would make you happy. Simone looked at the card again. She thought of her mother's medical bills, Tommy's college fund that didn't exist, the winter coats her neighbors needed for their children. She thought of all the nights she lay awake worrying about money, all the time she had to choose between paying for medicine or buying groceries. Are you sure? She asked, her voice barely audible. I'm sure, Nathan said. Just promise me you'll use it. Don't worry about the amount. Buy what you need, what you want. This is my gift to you. Simone carefully put the card back in the envelope and hugged it to her chest. Thank you, she said, tears flowing down her cheeks. Thank you so much. You have no idea what this means. Nathan watched her cry and felt a tightness in his chest. When was the last time someone had cried tears of gratitude over something he did? When was the last time his money had brought someone joy instead of just greed? I'll be back in 3 days, he said. Take care of yourself, Simone. After Nathan left, Simone sat in his kitchen for 20 minutes, just staring at the envelope. 3 days with unlimited money. 3 days to change everything for her family. But as she thought about it, Simone realized her first instinct wasn't to think about herself. Her first thought was of her mother, struggling to pay for medications. Her second thought was of Tommy, who needed new books for his advanced classes. Her third thought was of Mrs. Chen next door, who had been eating nothing but rice and beans for weeks because her social security check barely covered rent. That afternoon, Patricia Henderson received the same envelope in her downtown apartment. She had just finished a manicure when Nathan's driver delivered it personally. Patricia tore open the envelope eagerly and squealed when she saw the credit card. She immediately called her best friend. Girl, you will not believe what just happened, she said. Nathan just gave me a credit card with no limit. No limit. This is it. This is my chance to get everything I've been wanting. She was already pulling up shopping websites on her laptop before the call ended. That evening, Rebecca Martinez got her envelope at her office. She was working late as usual, planning her next business move. When she saw the credit card, she smiled slowly. Interesting, she murmured. This was an opportunity. Nathan was testing her, she was sure of it. But Rebecca was smart. She would use this card strategically, in ways that would benefit her career and impress Nathan with her business sense. She opened her laptop and started making a list. All 3 women had received the same gift. All 3 had unlimited access to Nathan's wealth. But as the next 3 days would prove, what people do with unlimited power reveals everything about who they really are. Nathan checked into a hotel downtown and waited. He had hired a private investigator to monitor the credit card usage and report back to him. Every purchase would be documented, every choice recorded. He told himself he was being smart, protecting himself from people who might use him. But deep down, Nathan was hoping against hope that at least one of the 3 women would surprise him. That at least one of them would show him that good people still existed in his world. He had no idea that in 3 days, his entire understanding of wealth, love, and what it meant to be rich would be completely transformed. The test had begun. Patricia Henderson woke up the morning after receiving Nathan's credit card with the excitement of a child on Christmas morning. She had stayed up until 2 a.m. browsing online stores, making lists and planning her shopping strategy. She put on her best outfit, a tight black dress Nathan had bought her last month, designer heels that made her 3 inches taller, and the pearl necklace her grandmother had left her. Today was going to be special. Patricia's first stop was Luxe Boutique on 5th Avenue, the store she walked past every day but could never afford to enter. The salesperson, a thin woman with sharp eyes, looked her up and down dismissively until Patricia pulled out Nathan's credit card. I'd like to see your most expensive dresses, Patricia said, enjoying the way the woman's attitude changed instantly. Of course, madam. Right this way. Patricia tried on 12 dresses, each more expensive than the last. She chose 4. A red cocktail dress for $3,200, a blue evening gown for $4,800, a white designer dress for $5,100, and a black silk dress that cost $6,500. Excellent choices, the salesperson gushed. Will you be wearing one of these to a special event? Every day is a special event when you have unlimited money, Patricia laughed, handing over the credit card without looking at the total. Her next stop was the jewelry district. Patricia had always believed that diamonds were a girl's best friend, and today she was going to make a lot of new friends. At Tiffany & Company, she spent an hour trying on necklaces, earrings, and bracelets. She chose diamond studs for $8,200, a tennis bracelet for $12,400, and a necklace that sparkled like stars for $15,600. "My boyfriend is going to love seeing me in these," she told the sales clerk, who smiled and nodded while processing the enormous sale. But Patricia wasn't done. She had always wanted to experience the most exclusive spa in the city, the one where celebrities went to relax and pamper themselves. The Serenity Spa usually had a 6-month waiting list, but when Patricia mentioned she was willing to pay premium prices, they found an opening immediately. She booked the ultimate princess package: a full-body massage, facial, manicure, pedicure, hairstyling, and makeup application. The 4-hour treatment cost $2,800, but Patricia didn't even blink. "I feel like a new woman," she sighed as she looked at herself in the mirror. Her skin glowed, her hair fell in perfect waves, and her nails were painted a bright pink that matched her new lipstick. That evening, Patricia met her friends for dinner at the most expensive restaurant in the city. She had called ahead and reserved the private dining room, ordering champagne that cost more per bottle than most people made in a day. "Patricia, you look amazing," her friend Jennifer said. "That dress must have cost a fortune." "Money is no object tonight," Patricia replied, raising her glass. "Nathan gave me his credit card and told me to buy whatever makes me happy." "No way," gasped her friend Michelle. "How much can you spend?" "As much as I want," Patricia said proudly. "He said there's no limit." Her friends squealed with excitement and immediately started planning shopping trips together. Patricia ordered the most expensive items on the menu for everyone: lobster, caviar, aged steaks, and desserts that were works of art. The dinner bill came to $4,200. Patricia signed it without looking, adding a $1,000 tip because she felt generous. As her friends called cars to take them home, Patricia realized she needed somewhere to store all her new purchases. Her apartment was too small for her expanding wardrobe. She called a luxury storage company and rented a climate-controlled unit for her growing collection of designer items. On her second day, Patricia continued her shopping spree. She bought shoes from Italy, handbags from France, and cosmetics from brands she had only dreamed of owning. She hired a personal shopper to help her navigate the most exclusive stores, someone who knew exactly which items would make her look wealthy and sophisticated. She bought a $3,400 purse because the leather was soft as butter. She bought $1,200 shoes because they were the same ones she had seen a movie star wearing. She bought a $2,100 watch because it sparkled in the light. Each purchase made her feel more powerful, more important. The sales clerks treated her like royalty. Other shoppers looked at her with envy. Patricia had never felt so special in her life. That afternoon she called Nathan's phone, but it went straight to voicemail. "Baby, thank you so much for this incredible gift," she said into the phone. "I'm having the most amazing time. I can't wait to show you everything I bought. I feel like a princess. You're the most generous man in the world." But even as she left the message, Patricia was already thinking about what she wanted to buy next. The credit card had awakened something in her, a hunger that grew stronger with each purchase. She had discovered the intoxicating power of unlimited money, and she never wanted it to end. By the end of her second day, Patricia had spent over $45,000. But she wasn't thinking about the amount. She was thinking about how good it felt to finally have everything she had ever wanted. She fell asleep that night surrounded by shopping bags, dreaming of all the things she would buy tomorrow. Patricia had no idea that every purchase was being recorded, every choice documented. She had no idea that Nathan was sitting in his hotel room, reading reports about her spending with growing disappointment. She had no idea that her choices were revealing exactly who she was, and that the revelation was not flattering. Rebecca Martinez approached Nathan's gift with the same calculated precision she brought to every business decision. Unlike Patricia, who had rushed out to shop immediately, Rebecca spent the first evening analyzing the situation. She sat in her downtown office, the credit card on her desk next to her laptop, making lists and strategic plans. Rebecca had not become a successful business consultant by being impulsive. Every move she made was designed to advance her career and increase her network. "This is a test," she murmured to herself. "Nathan doesn't give away money without a reason. He's evaluating me." Rebecca's first purchase was subtle but strategic: a $2,400 laptop computer with the latest technology. She justified it as a business expense, something that would help her serve Nathan's company more effectively. But the truth was, Rebecca had been wanting to upgrade her equipment for months and couldn't afford it on her salary. Her second purchase was a $1,800 business wardrobe consultation with one of the city's top image experts. Rebecca knew that appearance mattered in her industry, and she wanted to project success and sophistication. The consultant helped her choose 3 power suits, professional accessories, and shoes that commanded respect in boardrooms. But Rebecca's real strategy became clear on her second day, when she booked a private dining room at the Continental Club, the most exclusive business venue in the city. She invited 12 potential clients to a strategy dinner, positioning herself as a successful consultant who had the resources to wine and dine important people. The evening cost $8,400, but Rebecca saw it as an investment. She spent the night networking, collecting business cards, and positioning herself as someone who could afford to entertain at the highest level. 3 of the attendees scheduled follow-up meetings with her before the evening ended. "Rebecca, this is incredible," said James Morrison, the CEO of a tech startup. "I had no idea you operated at this level. We should definitely discuss having you consult on our expansion plans." Rebecca smiled and handed him her business card. "I believe in providing my clients with the best possible experience," she said smoothly. The next morning, Rebecca made her most strategic purchase yet: a $6,200 membership to the Elite Business Network, an exclusive organization that connected high-level entrepreneurs and executives. The membership fee was steep, but it came with access to events, conferences, and networking opportunities that could transform her career. She also bought a subscription to executive coaching services for $3,400, positioning it as professional development that would ultimately benefit Nathan's company. The coaching would help her improve her presentation skills and strategic thinking. Rebecca's purchases were not random or emotional like Patricia's. Every dollar spent was calculated to provide a return on investment. She bought a professional headshot session for $1,100 because she needed updated photos for marketing materials. She purchased a CRM software subscription for $800 to better manage her growing client database. She even bought gifts for potential clients: expensive wine for a restaurant owner, rare books for a collector, tickets to exclusive events for people she wanted to impress. Each gift was chosen carefully to create obligation and strengthen business relationships. On her third day, Rebecca made her boldest move. She organized a client appreciation event at a luxury hotel, inviting 30 of the most important people in her network to a catered reception. The event cost $12,800, but Rebecca promoted it as a celebration of successful partnerships. Nathan's name appeared nowhere on the invitations, but Rebecca made sure everyone knew she had the backing of a wealthy benefactor. She positioned herself as someone with access to unlimited resources, someone worth doing business with. "Rebecca has really stepped up her game," she heard one attendee tell another. "She's definitely someone to watch in this industry." During the event, Rebecca collected 15 new business cards and scheduled 8 follow-up meetings. She had successfully used Nathan's money to position herself as a major player in the business world. But Rebecca's most telling purchase came at the very end of her spending spree. She bought herself a $4,200 designer handbag and $2,100 shoes, items that had nothing to do with business strategy. When she called Nathan to thank him, her message was carefully crafted. "Nathan, thank you for this incredible opportunity. I've used your generous gift to expand our professional network and create new business opportunities. I've been networking with potential clients and partners who could benefit both of our companies. I can't wait to show you the strategic advantages I've developed. This investment will pay dividends for both of us." Rebecca was proud of her strategic approach. She had turned Nathan's gift into a business opportunity, using his money to build relationships and expand her influence. She saw herself as smart and forward-thinking, someone who understood how to leverage resources for maximum benefit. But Rebecca failed to understand something crucial. Nathan wasn't looking for someone who could use his money strategically for business purposes. He had plenty of business partners and consultants who could do that. He was looking for someone who saw his gift as an opportunity to reveal their character, their values, their heart. Rebecca had revealed her character, but it wasn't the character Nathan was hoping to find. As Rebecca fell asleep that night, satisfied with her strategic spending, she had no idea that her calculated approach had actually failed Nathan's test. She had shown him that she saw everything, even his generosity, as a business opportunity. She had proven that in her world, relationships were transactions and gifts were investments. Nathan would remember that when he decided who deserved his trust, his respect, and his love. Simone Washington held Nathan's credit card in her trembling hands for a full hour before she made her first purchase. She sat at her small kitchen table, her mother napping in the next room, staring at the piece of plastic that could change everything. Her first instinct was to hide the card and pretend she never received it. How could she accept such an incredible gift? She was just Nathan's housekeeper. She cleaned his floors and arranged his flowers. She didn't deserve unlimited access to his wealth. But then she thought about her mother's medical bills stacked on the counter, and her resolve weakened. Ruth Washington needed medicine that insurance wouldn't cover. She needed physical therapy that cost more than Simone made in a month. She needed care that Simone couldn't provide with her current resources. For Mama, Simone whispered to herself. I'll use it for Mama. Her first purchase was $847 at City General Hospital, paying off the balance on her mother's latest emergency room visit. As she entered her credit card information on the hospital's payment website, Simone cried tears of relief. For the first time in months, that particular worry was gone. Her second purchase was $394 for her mother's physical therapy sessions. Ruth had been skipping appointments because they couldn't afford them, but the therapy was helping her walk better and manage her pain. Then Simone called the pharmacy where her mother's medications were always on hold due to payment issues. She paid $287 to fill all of Ruth's prescriptions, plus another $156 for vitamins and supplements the doctor had recommended but insurance wouldn't cover. Mrs. Washington, these are all paid in full, the pharmacist said with surprise. Are you sure? Yes, Simone said, her voice thick with emotion. Please make sure my mother gets everything she needs. Next, Simone turned her attention to Tommy. Her 16-year-old brother was brilliant, but his school required expensive supplies for his advanced science and math classes. Simone had been saving for months to buy him a graphing calculator, but the $284 cost seemed impossible on her budget. She went online and bought not just the calculator, but every item on Tommy's supply list. Textbooks, lab equipment, a laptop for his computer programming class, and art supplies for the technical drawing course he loved. The total was $1,247, more than Simone usually spent on herself in 6 months. But she wasn't done with Tommy's needs. He had been accepted into a summer engineering program at the local college, but the $650 fee might as well have been $6,500 for what their family could afford. Simone paid it immediately, imagining the joy on her brother's face when she told him he could attend. As she made each purchase, Simone felt a mixture of gratitude and guilt. This money wasn't really hers. But Nathan had said to buy what would make her happy, and nothing made her happier than taking care of her family. Her next thought was of their neighbors. Simone knew that her family wasn't the only one struggling in their building. Mrs. Chin in apartment 3B had been eating rice and beans for weeks because her social security check barely covered rent. The Thompson family in 4A had 3 small children who needed winter coats but couldn't afford them. Old Joe in apartment 4B was a veteran who couldn't afford his heart medication. Mrs. Rodriguez in 2C was a single mother working 2 jobs but still couldn't keep food on the table. Simone made a decision that would have shocked Patricia and Rebecca. She went to Miller's grocery store and bought $200 worth of food for each struggling family in her building. Fresh vegetables, meat, milk, bread, and treats for the children. She arranged for everything to be delivered anonymously, with notes that said simply, "From a friend who cares." She paid $189 for winter coats for the Thompson children, buying them from a discount store but making sure they were warm and well made. She covered Old Joe's medication costs at $167. She even paid Mrs. Rodriguez's electric bill for $234 when she learned it was about to be shut off. Each purchase brought Simone more joy than any dress or jewelry could have. She was using Nathan's generosity to spread love and hope through her community. She was turning his gift into blessings for people who needed them most. But Simone saved her most meaningful purchase for last. Every Sunday since her father died 5 years ago, she had visited his grave at Riverside Cemetery. She brought flowers when she could afford them, which wasn't often. Usually she just sat by his headstone and talked to him, telling him about her week and asking for strength. Simone drove to the flower shop on Main Street, a place she had looked at longingly but rarely entered. She chose the most beautiful arrangement they had. White roses mixed with baby's breath, her father's favorite flowers. "These are lovely," the shop owner said. "Special occasion?" "Just visiting someone I love," Simone replied, tears in her eyes. She paid $67 for the flowers and arranged for them to be delivered to her father's grave with a card that read, "For Daddy. I miss you every day. Thank you for teaching me to always help others first. Your little girl is trying to live like you taught me." As Simone sat in her car outside the flower shop, she realized she had spent thousands of Nathan's dollars and hadn't bought a single thing for herself. Not one dress, not one pair of shoes, not even a coffee at her favorite cafe. She thought about buying something small just to treat herself. Maybe a new sweater or a nice meal at a restaurant. But every time she considered it, she thought of someone else who needed help more than she needed new clothes. When Tommy came home from school that afternoon, Simone was waiting with all his new supplies spread out on the table. "Simone, what is all this?" he asked, his eyes wide with amazement. "You got into the engineering program," she said, handing him the acceptance letter. "And you have everything you need to succeed." Tommy stared at the laptop, the calculator, the books, and then at his sister. "How did you afford all this?" "Someone very generous gave me the ability to help the people I love," Simone said. "And you're the person I love most in this world." Tommy hugged her so tight she could barely breathe. "I'm going to make you proud," he whispered. "I'm going to become an engineer and take care of you the way you've taken care of me." That night, as Simone prepared for bed, she felt something she hadn't felt in years: peace. Her mother's medical bills were paid. Tommy's education was secure. Her neighbors were fed and warm. Her father's grave had beautiful flowers. She had been given unlimited wealth for 3 days, and she had used every penny to love the people around her. She had taken Nathan's gift and turned it into a symphony of kindness that would echo through dozens of lives. Simone had no idea that her choices were being documented, that Nathan was reading reports about her spending with tears in his eyes. She had no idea that her selfless heart was about to change not just her own life, but the life of the man who had given her this incredible gift. Nathan Cole returned from his fake business trip with a stomach full of knots and a heart full of dread. 3 days had passed, and he was about to learn what 3 women had done with unlimited access to his wealth. The reports from his private investigator sat unopened on his desk, each one containing the truth about someone he had trusted. He poured himself a glass of whiskey, something he rarely did in the afternoon, and opened Patricia's file first. $27,000 in 3 days. Designer dresses, diamond jewelry, expensive spa treatments, luxury dinners, and shopping sprees that would make a celebrity blush. Nathan read through each purchase, his disappointment growing with every line item. A $6,500 dress she would wear once. A $15,600 necklace to impress her friends. A $4,200 dinner where she had bragged about having unlimited money. The private investigator's notes were even more telling. Subject seemed to view the credit card as a personal shopping opportunity. Made no purchases for others. Displayed the card openly in public, using it as a status symbol. Appeared to enjoy the power and attention that unlimited spending brought. Nathan set Patricia's file aside with a heavy heart. He had known she was materialistic, but he had hoped there was more depth to her character. The test had revealed that when given unlimited resources, Patricia thought only of herself. Rebecca's file was thicker and more complex. $15,000 but spent strategically on business networking, professional development, and career advancement. On the surface, it looked more responsible than Patricia's spending. But as Nathan read deeper, he realized that Rebecca had turned his gift into a business opportunity. She had used his money to position herself as a major player in their industry, hosting events and buying memberships that would advance her career. The investigator's notes were particularly insightful. Subject treated the credit card as a business investment tool. All purchases were calculated to provide professional benefit. Used the benefactor's generosity to enhance her own reputation and network. No evidence of charitable giving or consideration for others' needs. Nathan rubbed his temples. Rebecca's approach was smart from a business perspective, but it showed that she saw everything, even his generosity, as a transaction. She had proven that in her mind, relationships were deals and gifts were investments to be leveraged. Finally, with hands that trembled slightly, Nathan opened Simone's file. The first page made him stop breathing. Patient billing department, $847. Physical therapy payments, $394. Pharmacy, $443. School supplies, $1,247. Program fees, $650. Then came the purchases that broke his heart. Groceries for Mrs. Chin, $200. Winter coats for the Thompson children, $189. Medication for old Joe, $167. Electric bill for Mrs. Rodriguez, $234. Food deliveries to 6 different addresses in low-income housing, $1,200. Nathan's vision blurred as he continued reading. Every single purchase was for someone else. Her sick mother, her younger brother, elderly neighbors, struggling families. Not one dress, not one meal, not one small luxury for herself. The final purchase was listed simply as Riverside Cemetery flower delivery, $67. Nathan called the flower shop immediately. Yes, sir, we delivered those flowers this morning, the shop owner confirmed. Beautiful arrangement. The young lady was crying when she ordered them. Said they were for her father. She wanted white roses and baby's breath because they were his favorites. What did the card say? Nathan asked, his voice barely steady. Something about missing him every day and trying to live like he taught her. Said she was his little girl and thanked him for teaching her to help others first. Nathan hung up the phone and buried his face in his hands. Simone had been given unlimited wealth, and she had used it to honor her deceased father by living his values. She had turned Nathan's test into a masterpiece of selflessness. The private investigator's notes about Simone were brief but powerful. Subject appeared overwhelmed by the gift. Spent considerable time researching each purchase to ensure maximum benefit for recipients. Made no purchases for personal gain. Displayed extraordinary generosity and consideration for others' needs. Character assessment, exceptional. Nathan walked to his window and looked out at his perfectly manicured lawn, his expensive cars, his mansion that could house 20 families. He thought about Patricia's diamonds and Rebecca's business strategies and Simone's hospital bills. For the first time in his adult life, Nathan Cole understood what real wealth looked like. It wasn't measured in bank accounts or stock portfolios. It was measured in the size of your heart and the depth of your compassion. Simone Washington, who cleaned his floors for a living, was the richest person he had ever met. She had taken his gift and transformed it into love, hope, and healing for everyone around her. She had shown him what it meant to be truly wealthy. Nathan picked up his phone to call Patricia and break up with her. He would be kind but firm. Their relationship was built on superficial attraction and material desires, not on the deep connection he now realized he needed. He would call Rebecca next and restructure their business relationship. She was skilled and strategic, but he would never trust her with his heart or his personal life. But Simone had just shown him something that would change his life forever. She had revealed a heart so pure, a character so genuine, that Nathan could barely believe such people still existed. He looked at the credit card statements again, wiping away tears he didn't even realize had fallen. Tomorrow, when Simone came to work, Nathan would have to find a way to tell her that she had passed a test she didn't even know she was taking. More importantly, he would have to find the courage to tell her that somewhere between her selfless purchases and her father's flowers, she had stolen his heart completely. The test was over. The results were clear. And Nathan Cole's life was about to change in ways he never could have imagined. The next morning, Simone arrived at Nathan's mansion at exactly 8 o'clock, just like she had every workday for 2 years. She wore a bright blue sweater and carried her usual lunch bag, looking no different than she had before receiving his incredible gift. But Nathan had barely slept. He had spent the night thinking about credit card statements and flower deliveries, about selfish choices and selfless hearts. When he heard Simone's key in the service door, his pulse quickened. "Good morning, Mr. Cole," Simone called out as she hung up her purse and began preparing his coffee. "How was your business trip?" Nathan entered the kitchen, still in his pajamas and robe, his hair uncombed. He looked exhausted and emotional, which made Simone immediately concerned. "Are you feeling all right, sir?" she asked, pausing in her coffee preparation. "You look like you haven't slept." "Simone, we need to talk," Nathan said quietly. "Please sit down." Simone's heart jumped into her throat. She had been dreading this moment since she made her first purchase 3 days ago. Nathan had discovered how she spent his money, and now she was going to lose her job. Maybe he would even press charges. Rich people didn't give money away without expecting something in return. "Mr. Cole, I can explain," she began, her voice shaking. "I know I should have bought things for myself, but I couldn't. My mother needed medicine, and Tommy needed school supplies, and our neighbors." "Simone," Nathan interrupted gently. "You're not in trouble." She looked up at him with confusion and fear in her eyes. "I'm not." Nathan pulled out a chair across from her and sat down. On the table between them, he placed 3 credit card statements. "I gave the same gift to 3 women," he said. "Patricia, Rebecca, and you. I wanted to see what each of you would do with unlimited money." Simone's eyes widened as the truth sank in. "It was a test?" "Yes," Nathan admitted. "And you need to see what the other 2 chose." He showed her Patricia's statement first. Simone read through the designer dresses, diamond jewelry, and expensive spa treatments with growing sadness. "She spent all this on herself?" Simone asked quietly. "Every penny," Nathan confirmed. $27,000 on clothes, jewelry, and luxury experiences. Not one purchase for anyone else. Next, he showed her Rebecca's statement. Simone studied the business dinners, networking events and professional development expenses. Rebecca used the money strategically, Nathan explained. But still only for herself. She turned my gift into a business opportunity to advance her own career. Finally, Nathan placed Simone's statement in front of her. She looked at her own purchases: hospital bills, school supplies, groceries for neighbors, medication for elderly friends, flowers for her father's grave. "And then there's you," Nathan said, his voice thick with emotion. $3,000 and not one penny spent on yourself. Simone began to cry. "I'm sorry, Mr. Cole. I know I should have bought myself something nice. I just couldn't when so many people needed help." "Sorry?" Nathan reached across the table and took her hands in his. "Simone, you have nothing to be sorry for. You showed me something I had forgotten existed." "What's that?" "A pure heart," Nathan said. "You were given unlimited wealth and you used it to love people. You took my test and turned it into a blessing for your entire community." Simone looked down at their joined hands, hardly believing what she was hearing. "But I failed your test. I didn't buy what made me happy." "No," Nathan said firmly. "You showed me exactly what makes you happy. Taking care of other people makes you happy. Helping your neighbors makes you happy. Honoring your father's memory makes you happy. You didn't fail the test, Simone. You passed it in a way I never imagined possible." Nathan stood up and walked to his window, looking out at his vast property. "Do you know what I realized when I read your statement? I realized that I've been living my whole life wrong." "What do you mean?" "I've spent years accumulating money and possessions, thinking that wealth was about what I could buy for myself. But you showed me that real wealth is about what you can do for others." Nathan turned back to face her. "Patricia showed me greed. Rebecca showed me calculation. But you, Simone, you showed me love." Simone wiped tears from her eyes. "Mr. Cole, I don't understand what you're saying." "I'm saying that you're the most extraordinary person I've ever met," Nathan said. "I'm saying that watching you care for everyone around you has made me fall in love with who you are." Simone's breath caught in her throat. "Sir. I love how you hum while you work," Nathan continued. "I love how you remember that I like my coffee cup turned left. I love how you brought me soup when I was sick. I love that you see people, really see them and care about their pain." "Mr. Cole, we're from different worlds," Simone whispered. "No," Nathan said, moving closer to her. "We're from the same world. The world where kindness matters more than money, where character matters more than credit cards, where love matters more than luxury." Nathan knelt beside her chair and looked into her eyes. "Simone Washington, you have shown me what it means to be truly rich. Will you give me the chance to learn from you? Will you help me become the kind of person who uses wealth the way you do?" Simone looked at this man who had more money than she could comprehend, kneeling beside her kitchen chair and asking her to teach him about generosity. It was the most beautiful and unexpected moment of her life. "Are you sure?" she asked. "I'm just your housekeeper." "No," Nathan said firmly. "You're the woman who taught me what real wealth looks like. You're the woman who showed me that the size of your heart matters more than the size of your bank account. You're the woman I love." Simone felt her world shift beneath her feet. 3 days ago, she had been worried about paying her mother's medical bills. Now, the most generous man she had ever known was telling her that her heart had captured his. "Yes," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, I'll help you. I'll teach you everything my father taught me about putting love first." Nathan smiled wider than he had in years. "Then we'll start today. What's the first lesson?" Simone stood up and took his hands in hers. "The first lesson is that when you love someone you don't test them. You trust them." Nathan nodded, understanding that his testing days were over. From now on, he would follow Simone's lead in matters of the heart. The confrontation had ended not with accusations or disappointment, but with the beginning of something beautiful. Love had won, just as Simone's father had always taught her it would. Have you ever wondered what you would do if someone gave you unlimited money? Would your choices reveal a heart like Patricia's, a mind like Rebecca's, or a soul like Simone's? Share your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe for more heartwarming stories that remind us what truly matters in life. 6 months after the credit card test, Nathan Cole stood in the garden behind his mansion, watching Simone teach her brother Tommy how to plant roses. She wore a bright yellow dress that made her look like sunshine, and her laughter filled the air as Tommy accidentally sprayed himself with the garden hose. "I think the roses need water, not me," Tommy said, shaking droplets from his hair. "Practice makes perfect," Simone replied, giving him a side hug. "Besides, a little water never hurt anyone." Nathan smiled as he watched them. Over the past 6 months, his mansion had transformed from a cold, empty showplace into a warm home filled with love and laughter. Simone's mother Ruth had moved into one of the guest rooms so Simone could better care for her health needs. Tommy visited every weekend, his engineering studies funded by a scholarship Nathan had quietly established. The changes in Nathan's life went far deeper than his living arrangements. Simone had kept her promise to teach him about using wealth to help others. Together, they had created the Cole Washington Foundation, dedicated to providing medical assistance, educational opportunities, and emergency aid to families in need. Every week, they visited Simone's old neighborhood, not as benefactors dispensing charity, but as friends and neighbors offering support. Nathan had learned the names of everyone in Simone's building. He knew that Mrs. Chen loved to cook traditional dishes for people who visited her. He knew that old Joe told the best war stories. He knew that the Thompson children were brilliant students who just needed someone to believe in them. "Mr. Cole," Tommy called out, interrupting Nathan's thoughts. "Simone says you're taking her somewhere special today." "That's right," Nathan replied, walking over to join them in the garden. "But it's a surprise." Simone looked up at him with curious eyes. "Should I be worried?" "Only if you don't like surprises," Nathan said, kissing her forehead gently. Over the past 6 months, Nathan and Simone's relationship had grown slowly and naturally. He had courted her with the patience of a man who finally understood that the best things in life couldn't be rushed or bought. He brought her flowers from his garden instead of expensive jewelry. He cooked meals with her instead of taking her to fancy restaurants. He listened to her stories about her father instead of talking about his business deals. "I'll go get ready," Simone said, brushing soil from her hands. "Tommy, you keep working on those roses. I want them perfect for your sister's big day." "What big day?" Simone asked, but Nathan just smiled mysteriously. An hour later, Nathan drove Simone through the city to a neighborhood she hadn't seen before. They pulled up in front of a beautiful community center with a sign that read, "The Ruth and Thomas Washington Community Center serving families with love." Simone gasped as she read the sign. "Nathan, what is this?" "This is your Christmas present," Nathan said. "And your birthday present. And your Valentine's Day present for the next 10 years. They walked inside together, and Simone discovered a fully equipped facility designed to serve families in need. There was a medical clinic staffed by volunteer doctors, a tutoring center for children, a job training program for adults, and a food pantry that looked more like a grocery store than a charity operation. "The center is named after your parents," Nathan explained. "Your father, who taught you to help others first, and your mother, who raised the most generous daughter in the world." Tears streamed down Simone's face as she walked through rooms filled with everything a struggling community could need. "How long have you been planning this?" "Since the day I realized that loving you meant loving the things you love," Nathan said. "You care about helping people, so now I care about helping people. You believe in giving families dignity along with assistance, so that's what this center does." In the main room, a small crowd had gathered. Ruth Washington in her wheelchair, beaming with pride, Tommy with his camera ready, Mrs. Chin, old Joe, the Thompson family, and dozens of other neighbors from Simone's building. "Surprise!" they all shouted as Nathan and Simone entered. But Nathan had one more surprise. He took Simone's hands and knelt down in front of everyone who mattered most to her. "Simone Washington," he said, pulling out a simple, beautiful ring. "6 months ago, you taught me that real wealth isn't measured in money but in the size of your heart. You showed me that the most valuable thing I could do with my resources was to use them to love people." Simone's hands shook as she looked down at him. "You filled my empty mansion with warmth, my lonely life with purpose, and my selfish heart with the desire to serve others. Will you marry me and let me spend the rest of my life learning to love the way you love?" The room was completely silent except for the soft sound of Ruth Washington crying happy tears. "Yes," Simone whispered, then louder, "Yes." As Nathan slipped the ring onto her finger, the room exploded in cheers and applause. Tommy whooped with joy, Mrs. Chin clapped her hands together, and old Joe wiped tears from his eyes. "I love you," Nathan said as he stood and took Simone in his arms. "I love your generous heart, your selfless spirit, and the way you see the best in everyone around you." "I love you too," Simone replied. "Thank you for seeing me, for believing in me, and for wanting to build a life dedicated to helping others." As they kissed, surrounded by the people they both loved, Nathan realized that his credit card test had given him something far more valuable than he had ever imagined. It had led him to a woman who would teach him that the greatest fortune wasn't in what you could accumulate, but in what you could give away. Later that evening, as they sat together on the porch of Nathan's mansion, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and pink, Simone leaned against his shoulder. I have something to tell you, she said softly. What's that? Remember when you gave me the credit card and told me to buy whatever would make me happy? Yes, Nathan replied, stroking her hair gently. I did buy what made me happy, Simone said. Taking care of the people I love makes me happy. But there was one thing I wanted that I didn't buy. What was that? Simone looked up at him with eyes full of love. I wanted someone to share it all with. Someone who would understand why helping others mattered more than helping myself. Someone who would love me not for what I could give them, but for who I chose to be. And now I have that, Simone said, reaching up to touch his face. I have you. As they sat together in the gathering darkness, Nathan Cole understood that he had finally learned the most important lesson of his life. True wealth wasn't about having everything you wanted, but about wanting to give everything you had to the people you loved. The test was long over, but the love it had revealed would last forever. And in a world that often seemed driven by greed and selfishness, Nathan and Simone would spend their lives proving that kindness, hope, and love would always lead the way to real happiness. Their story was just beginning, but it would be written with the same values that had guided Simone's credit card choices: generosity, compassion, and an unwavering commitment to putting love first.